Buenas tardes, bienvenidos a ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Good evening. Welcome to ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Estamos aquí todos los domingos a las 4 de la tarde. We're here every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Nos pueden ver en Facebook, LinkedIn. Nos pueden ver en Roku TV, en el canal que se llama Pot TV. So we're here every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and you can watch us through Pot TV, through Roku TV, and also on Facebook and LinkedIn. Today, we only have Nicte and I. Maddie's not here because she's doing life again. We're doing life too, but we're doing life in a different way. So, Mark, you can bring on Nicte. I'm ready for her so we can go ahead and get started with our fabulous topic of today. Hola, Nicte.
Hola, hola, buenas tardes.
¿Cómo
Hello,
estás?
hello. Bien, ¿y tú?
Bien. Every time you come on board, like I need to check out what you're wearing. Porque hoy no se te ve muy bien los aretes. ¿Qué clase de lentes de
No,
aretes tienes
they're like
puestos?
some purple with
Púrpura
it's
con
kind of
oro.
like gold here, yeah, con orito. I think it's because of my skin tone too, and I love these, but I think it's also because I have a little bit of like darker blue, so it kind of takes the attention
Mm.
of that. I love how these look, but these would look much nicer if I had like bleach blonde hair or like a very different contrasting hair, but no, I don't look good in that.
Have you ever done a different kind of color hair?
I've had lowlights or highlights like suavecitos, so it looks subtle. I kind of love my brown hair. I think it's just part of me, and
Mhm.
I'm not too much into being too oxigenada, as we say.
So you don't have gray hair yet?
Oh yeah, I do, but I'm just considering that to be highlights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
try and buy into that concept, but I haven't yet.
Yeah. Well, now
So
the young generations are bleaching their hair to look like ¿cómo se dice?
with gray hair, the
Gray hair,
platinum,
yeah.
the
Platinum or
platinum.
whatever it is. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
hey, we're with the times.
It is what it is. I have a T-shirt that says "Such is life," so I'm gonna
Mm,
wear it next time.
yes.
But definitely. So tell me about your week. Tell me something that you were grateful for.
Man. Well, very recent. Yesterday, I was trying to navigate getting a proposal for a new potential client, trying to get things done all on the back end. And my husband calls me. I had just picked up my son, and he calls me saying, "Hey, my truck won't start." He had told me this morning he had trouble starting, and he said maybe it's the battery. So, long story short, he called me. The truck wouldn't start. Someone tried to jump him, and then it started smoking. We were freaking out. So, I didn't the old pre-military spouse me would have freaked out. I'm like, yeah, what do I go? And I was like, all right, just give me a few minutes. I'm gonna gather everything we need. Grab some gloves. Grabbed we have like a battery reader. I
Mhm.
grabbed that, and I grabbed one other thing to see if like the computer, like if we get some computer readings. Got Asiel ready. Got some snacks for him because I figured just in case.
You'll be there a while.
Yeah, and of course, it was stressful because we didn't know. Thankfully, it just ended up being the battery. We went, got a new battery, but like his job is 40 minutes away sometimes, depending on how
Mm.
bad traffic was. But I managed to get there a lot faster, and I was like, all right, we'll just go with the flow. And he said, one of the things we've done is that we've tried to work on letting each other know if we're having a bad day or we're stressed, like, hey, I need some space, just so that it's not, well, what did I do? Or, like you nag
Right.
when you just need space.
Like I'm
So,
irritable today.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't want to take it out on you, but if you press my buttons, so we've gotten a lot better about doing that, and that really helps, especially for me, because I used to think, oh, did I do something wrong? Or, like all those things. So, I think I lost you.
No, we're here.
Oh,
We're here.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. We're good. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. I must have been so much in the conversation, I clicked the internet. So, anyways, so long story short, I was supportive. I stayed calm through it. We got the battery fixed, and then we were back up and running. And, I think something that we could have allowed to be a lot more stressful and kind of just get at each other. We were like, all right, fine. We got home. We were tired, of course, but it got resolved. So I'm thankful that was something that we could solve easily, that we were able to do that. We had two vehicles to do that, and that it's back to normal. So that
Yeah,
was
I
a
think
good
it's all
story.
about progress, like just making progress with certain things. And we always talk about giving each other grace and, just
Mhm.
life happens. Like today, I
Yeah.
was talking to one of my clients and she was having trouble doing something online and she asked for my
Mhm.
help. And she texted me and she said, this is how my life has been the last couple of months. Like things don't work out for me. And I said, no, stop saying that. So I put in quotes because I always say this to my assistant, and I'm like, things are always working out for me. And he laughs at me, right?
Mhm.
But I always say that because he'll say, oh, what about this? Like, all the potential issues. And I'm like, Kevin, things are always working out for us.
I
And
love
then he
that.
was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I forgot. So, like, even one day last week, I was going to another city, and usually there's a lot of traffic going there because you have to go through the tunnel.
Mhm.
And I was leaving like at 5, like peak time. So he's like, "Oh my God, you're gonna be stuck in traffic." And I said, "No, I'm not gonna be stuck in traffic. Like I never
Mhm.
have traffic." So like on my way there, luckily I remember and I took a picture of no traffic, but it was like
Oh,
a lot of traffic coming on the opposite direction. So he just kind of
oh,
laughed at it.
wow. I
Yeah,
love it. It's the power of positive affirmations. I need to get better at that, but that's a
yeah.
really great way to put it and great
Yeah.
example. I love
Yeah.
that you do
And I
that.
think like that's kind of like my week has been like that. I've had some challenges maybe a little bit at my job, but I've just been still. I haven't experienced any anxiety or I haven't let the anxiety like penetrate too much. Like yes, it came in a little bit, but I haven't let it, just come full force. So I just been still, and
Oh, I love that.
are
Mhm.
always working out. Like I truly in my heart believe that. And so because I believe that, I manifest that and it happens in my life. So like and I try to feed that information. I try to feed that information to other people that come in contact with me when I hear them, say something that is not necessarily aligned with how I operate with things.
Mhm.
So, but yeah.
I love that. And that's a really good way to help other people even realize how we sometimes bring our own negativity into our own lives by saying that, because I know that I've been guilty of that when you have so many challenges and you're kind of caught yourself in the slump and like, es que siempre me pasa eso, or this always happens to me, and we add that bad energy. And so I love that you are so intentional about that and that positive affirmation. So I am working on that, and it's true, it does work, because I know sometimes if I'm stuck in the light, I'll be going, Vuéltate, muévete, muévete, green, 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 and then
Yeah.
eventually turns green.
I
But
do that with my son when we go to school in the mornings, and I'm like, Joel, are you not thinking green lights? Like I look over at him. He's like, no. I'm like, well, get it together because we got to get all the green lights. So I remember the first time I did it with him, he probably thought I was a witch or something because he was like, oh my God, it works. But yeah, I try to do that. There's a book that I read a little bit. It's an audiobook, but it just kind of talks about just speaking positive words. And he talks about the fact that God made everyone a genius. So we're all geniuses. So I try to remind myself of that as well. And then there's like a video that I listened to. I'll send it to you. I'll share it with you guys. But it's with Abraham Hicks. It's like a 10-minute like morning meditation. And
oh,
it's just a lot of positive words similar to things work out for me or I'm at peace or, everything is just in a positive note. So I every morning I listen to it. Sometimes I might listen to music a little bit in the morning, just
mm-hmm.
depending, but majority of the time I, do my little gratitude in silence and then I listen to that 10-minute video every single day. And if
Oh,
I don't do it when I get up, then I'll do it in the car.
oh, smart. So it's part of your routine too. It kind of sets you in that momentum. I love
And
that.
I
Yeah.
miss it. If I don't listen to her voice,
Mhm.
like I miss it. If I go 2-3 days without listening to it, like I feel it lacking.
Oh, wow. Man,
I
that's
think I'm
awesome.
addicted to Abraham Hicks. I'm gonna
Well,
get a
I mean, of course, it's just if you have that positive effect too. I mean, I think that sometimes it's those you hear it with social media, the things that we feed our minds and brains, especially for the little ones too,
Yeah.
that translates over. Because I know that if I don't like to watch so much negativity and hate and all that stuff, because then you start like to, as positive as you are, the effect that, starts to be feed on you. So I
That's why I
love
don't
that you
watch
do
the news. I get
that.
little headliners, like,
Mm-hmm.
one, two sentences.
To know, yeah.
Um, but that's it.
Yeah.
I don't watch the news.
Yeah, I think that that's smarter for protecting ourselves, and in smart
Hmm.
ways.
Yeah.
One of the things that I started doing was listening to this. It's this app called Spirit Tune, and it uses certain waves and beat lengths. It's all music, but it's like neuroscience based to help you either concentrate or ease your anxiety. And I used that the other day too. So it's kind of like my version of what you are, like every 10
Yeah.
minutes, like every morning. It's been actually really helping me, and it's kind of,
Hmm.
it puts you in a
Yeah, because
different
sometimes
path.
I'll even YouTube like music to help you study, and then because it's all about. So I study that a little bit. The waves that come from certain music and certain tunes or whatever. So there's
Mhm.
like different mega what are they called? Like
Megahertz or
megahertz, yes. So certain megahertz tap into your subconscious.
mm-hmm,
So even when you meditate, there's certain tunes that you should listen to really, because you can cleanse, you can rewire your subconscious.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that
it
should
can
be
get deep.
a fascinating topic for one of
Another
our
show.
shows.
So talking about, the things that we feed our brain and our bodies and everything, we wanted to talk a little bit today about the summer slide. So the summer slide, I originally heard that term through the educational realm. So the summer slide pretty much talks about the fact that kind of like if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
typically, majority of the United States, we don't have year-round school. So during the time that the kids are off in the summertime, they tend to their knowledge of like especially math and reading decreases. So the experts say that students lose about 2 months worth of a grade level during the summertime because there's no activity, there's no academic stimulation happening during the summertime. So and about probably 48% of parents um, don't know that or know that the summer slide even exists, right?
Yeah.
So 48% of parents know. So majority of our parents don't know that the summer slide exists. So I know a lot of the schools tend to send like a summer packet or some summer reading for the students.
Mm-hmm.
Some students do it at the last minute, but
Mm-hmm.
it's meant for it to be used throughout the summer, because in the summertime, especially today, a lot of students, young people are, video games, TikToks, there's a lot of video, a lot of
YouTube.
screen time. Yes. So it
Mm-hmm.
really affects them when they go back to school. So I always say I think everybody has attention deficit. So it's
Mm-hmm.
even worse once we go back to school in September because we are so overstimulated with all this technology. And now we're in front of a teacher and you're like, oh my gosh, she's talking too slow. But it's because we're used to things moving fast when we're exposed to electronics.
Wow. I didn't even know about that until we were kind of talking about the topic. And it's fascinating to know, but it's also eye-opening
Hmm.
in how um, necessary it is for us to be able to continually nurture them. And I like that you said that some schools will provide like different things for the summer. Our son actually provided some like three big books, and I guess it was a past, I don't know exactly what she labeled it, but from the current first graders gave it to them so that they could have some reading material. And I really like that. So hearing you say that, I was like, I need to build some sort of schedule to make him have some reading time so that he cannot like lose that. And it's interesting that you said with math and reading, because that actually for my son is the two strongest subjects for him. But I can't believe that within that they are 2 months behind.
Hmm. Yeah.
So when it comes to the beginning of the school year, does that mean the teachers have to have like a much harder or really focused curriculum to kind of bring them back up to speed, or does that affect their...
So typically in the public school system, they will give them like a benchmark test at the beginning of the school year. So they'll give them that benchmark at the beginning, which most of the kids don't do well because it's a lot of information that hasn't been taught to them. And then they give them that same benchmark at the end of the quarter or the semester. I'm not really sure, to see if they have gained any of that knowledge. So typically with school systems, especially the public school system, the school already has a curriculum with dates attached to it. So those things need to be covered by that date. Whether you get it or you don't get it as a student, we got to keep it moving. Right.
Okay.
So that's why companies like myself stay in business, because a lot of parents are seeking additional help. Not because they can't help them, but sometimes they don't know how to help them.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I get a lot of clients that are, professional white collar engineers, but they seek out tutoring because they just don't have the patience to sit down with their own kids, or their kids won't receive from them versus somebody else. And then just getting them outside of the home is also important, because their home, like, it happens to me. Like, I go home and I have every intention to do some work, but as soon as I get home, I'm like, oh my God, let me take a shower and then get under the covers and watch Netflix, right? But I might have intentions to do something else before I get there. So just getting the kids outside of their comfort zone. But there's a lot of it's tough on the teachers because they have to follow this curriculum, and children are in different levels. So I don't know about others. I'm assuming that other states are doing this, but currently in the state of Virginia, the Department of Education is offering a grant for parents, and you might want to look at your state if they're doing this. But in Virginia, they're offering a $1,500 grant for all parents per student, and all they have to upload is proof of residence. That's it, and they get the $1,500. I think they have about $39 million to give in grant money, and it could only be used for academic purposes. So it could be used for tutoring purposes. If your child has like an IEP or accommodations at school, and the IEP says that they need a tablet or a calculator, you can purchase those items with the grant. If your child goes to speech therapy or any other therapy that has to do with academics, that can also be covered with the grant. So that's the $1,500 one. And then they also have timelines. So you have to spend half of the money by August the 15th, and then the other half by December the 15th of 2023. And then you have some parents that are eligible for a $3,000 grant. And those are more for your low income families that are below poverty level. So they're giving them $3,000. And for those, you do have to show proof of your low income.
Oh, wow.
It's the Virginia Department of Education came up with this grant to support the lack of just the deficiencies that the students have in anything that has to do with academics.
Wow. Man, I did not know that. And so is that something that like they publicly I don't know, it sounds bad, but like publicly advertise? Like, is that a publicly known thing or
So
not really?
yes. So you have to be really involved, right? You really have to read your emails as a parent. I know I forgot originally I signed up, and again, just because the field that I'm in, I get the newsletter from the Department of Education for the state that I live in. But as a parent, I received emails from my son's guidance counselor, but I received it from my oldest son's school, not my youngest son's school. Because I've been sending it to all of my clients and people that are not my clients, but I know that are leaders in the community. I did send it to a lady. She's the liaison between the Spanish speaking families at some of the Catholic schools in this area. So she's like, so there's like about 4 Catholic schools here, and she's like the person that makes sure that the newsletters are done in Spanish. She's like the communication piece of the Latino
That's so
families.
nice.
I
Oh,
sent it
wow.
to her. She had no idea about it. She had
Wow.
no
Oh my
idea.
gosh. Wow.
Mhm.
That, I mean, to me is incredible. Even when you were saying that families of lower income with lower access to tools, education elements that they need for their children, for me, that can be night and day for their children, and them not knowing necessarily. I think that
Yeah.
it's wow. I
And it's
love that you
great
shared
because
that.
I've gotten a lot of phone calls in the past,
Mhm.
people looking for free tutoring. And unfortunately, I can't
Mhm.
do it. What I have done in the past is I've done like a free consultation with them, and I've
Mhm.
given them some resources that they could do at home on their
Mhm.
own.
Mhm.
And I always tell parents, you can call me anytime if you have questions, as you're, especially for the high school kids, as you're
Mhm.
selecting your classes for next year. Just let me look at them just to make sure, just a second set of eyes.
Mhm.
And then for the younger students, I just kind of give the parents ideas of things that they can do to be savvy to do with their
Mhm.
students, even though they can't afford tutoring.
Oh,
So like I even send the link to some local pastors or, people that I
oh,
know in
that's
the with
great.
the churches and stuff like that, so they can tell their congregation that this is available.
Wow, that's really wonderful. What a way to put it, como dice, put it forward, pass it forward
Yeah, pass it forward.
to
Yeah. Hmm.
to help
Yeah.
other people
Yeah.
who might not have that
Yeah.
access.
And it's
So,
great because it could only be used for academic purposes.
yeah. So could someone take that grant? Like if they accepted that grant, could they go to you to use that
Yeah.
for tutoring?
Mhm. Yeah,
That's
so I listed
awesome.
myself as a tutor up there
Oh,
as well.
that's really great. So when they're on the website and they're looking for tutors, your
Yeah,
business
yeah. So
site.
pretty much what happens is they it takes 5 minutes to complete the application, and
Mhm.
then once their application is complete, they get awarded the money, and then it says click here to like upload the invoice. So as a lot of my clients, of course, are going to be using my services, so I give them an
Mhm.
invoice. They upload the invoice, and then the Department of Education, they wait about 2 weeks, and then they approve the funds, and then they send the funds directly to me.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That is amazing. So
Mhm.
now I want to make sure I read all the emails for my son because sometimes I think from me, I already get a lot of emails for my own business that reading
Mhm.
more emails for my son's school can feel overwhelming. But I think just you and sharing that kind of makes us reflect too on kind of okay, let's designate time to just read these emails, make sure I'm not missing anything
Yeah.
important. Sometimes it feels like they're repeating the same thing over and over, so I just don't read them. But now that you said that, I'm like, I might miss a line or two that says something really important.
Something, yeah,
So
yeah. And just check with
yeah,
your Department of Education for your state,
yeah,
and just see if there's any grants available
wow.
for
I
the
did
state
not
that you
know that.
reside in. Mhm. Yeah.
That's I know that yeah, I know with like my son, he's had like special additional benefits. Like last year, they had the summer school for the school, which we signed him up for. But then they had one for kiddos that had special needs or some sort of IDP to kind of help them. So
Hmm.
those were additional, maybe an additional month and a half, I think, of
Hmm.
education, which is such a blessing. I think. I also wonder, do you feel that in part this summer slide, right?
Yes.
Is has something to do with the kids still trying to catch up from the pandemic and all those things, like those years of not really having a normal education environment. Do you think that that has also affected it or made it worse?
Yeah, sure. So like the summer slide has always been there, even prior to
Mhm.
COVID, right?
Okay.
But now, when the kids came back from COVID, they have really developed some really bad habits, and
Mhm.
I blame the school system for it.
Mhm.
Because the school system has allowed kids to like redo assignments multiple times for a better grade. So when the kids are
Oh.
taking the assignments and they're redoing the assignments, they're not really absorbing the content. They're just remembering what the answers are. I saw it
Oh.
a lot with especially my oldest son. He's in high school. He graduates next
Mhm.
year. Um, but just the teachers were giving him just multiple chances. So like
Mhm.
having a deadline of it's due on Friday,
Didn't really
it was
matter.
there, but they were just
Yeah.
extremely lenient. with them, just
Oh.
redoing assignments, or just not putting a lot of weight on it.
Mm,
And I think that was okay maybe for the younger kids, but just for like middle school and high school kids, I just think that that's a bad move,
yeah.
because they develop bad habits.
Hmm. It almost feels like it has an impact of thinking that, oh, you can always redo these things if you mess up, like in
Yeah.
life, that they can apply that to.
Life doesn't work that way.
No. Sometimes all we get is that one shot, and if we take it. So wow, I didn't realize. I think that yeah is definitely something that's very
Yeah, and that's
important.
crucial. And even as we do things like like for example, kids when they transition from, let's say, third to fourth grade, there's a lot of math word problems with multi-step equations, right? So first you have
Mm,
to add and then you have to subtract, right? So it's multi-step, right? So a lot of the kids struggle with that because we all have attention deficit and it takes longer. And then now I have to read, like, why am I reading and this is math class, right? So
yeah.
all of those thoughts that go through their brain. But also I tell parents all the time, make your kids multitask at home as well, right? So even with your
Mm,
little one, you can say, hey, put the white, I think I talked about this before, put the dishes in the sink.
mhm.
Okay. Now put the dishes in the sink and wash them. So like that's two steps. Or take the dirty clothes, separate the clothes by colors, and then bring them downstairs and then put them in the washing machine. So like these are multi steps. So you
Mhm,
eventually want to like do stuff like that, or even playing Simon Says, right? Like
mhm.
little games like that, to show them to follow
Oh,
directions. Because I'm telling you, these kids cannot follow directions.
oh my
Um, they
gosh.
they struggle. They
Oh
struggle doing
my
all those things.
gosh.
But there's a
Wow.
lot of things that could be done too. Even if you cannot afford tutoring, or to avoid the summer slide, because you don't have to be part of the summer slide. You don't have to be included in that
Mm,
percentage, right? So little things like in the summertime, let's promote to do things that you normally wouldn't do, or maybe we don't have time to do between the school
mm,
year. So things like, let's count money, let's make change, let's take some time for you to learn how to exchange money. A lot of kids don't understand money concepts because
mhm.
we typically pay with a credit card, and now we don't
Yeah.
even slide it or slide it, we
Yeah.
just
You
tap it,
just,
and then the money
yeah.
is just, and then kids see like, oh, the money's like, they don't understand the concept of money
Yeah.
because they see their parents just,
Yeah.
and then you get this item and you like,
And
where's
that's
the
all.
money?
That's like the answer to everything.
Imagine, yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
just the concept of like having tangible money in your hands.
Mhm.
Um, you could
I
do a
love
lot of
that.
math games, even through cooking and like measuring and following a recipe, following directions and doing math. You could do also like handwriting.
Mhm.
Even if you go to the beach and you write something on the sand, you could write sight words on
Oh,
the sand, or
that.
just little things like that. You can really get creative. You just have to be intentional.
I love that idea. There's like all these things too that, as you're saying that, I'm even thinking like, okay, well, we don't have a beach nearby, but what if we can write a word with rocks or have them kind of line up, like, or a
Yeah.
number, something simple. I love those ideas. And as you were kind of talking about money, we have like a little money jar that we got him. And what I've been doing is I've been paying him like, it's very little, but it's because again we don't have a lot of change with us. So what we do is I'll say, hey papito, I'll pay you 10 cents if you clean up your table. And he's like, oh, okay, okay. And I show him like, here's what 10 cents are, this is called a dime, look at the difference. And so like I'm trying to
Yeah.
kind of have him see some of those differences. And the thing for him, the funnest part is just putting it in his little jar, just putting in the coins in there. So you saying that kind of re-cemented that I need to try and do that more often because he
Hmm.
loves doing that. I
Yeah.
asked him
I
to help me
recently did that.
vacuum. También
Yes.
lo
Yeah,
mismo.
you
It's
have to,
not
and it's
perfect, but yeah.
crazy because when we were being raised, we didn't get paid. We just had to do the
Yeah.
chores.
Yep.
But just like there's different today because of
Yeah.
us. We've done this to them. But I
Yeah.
had to do that with my youngest son. So I did like certain, it was 5 tasks. And so I gave him a quarter because your son gets paid a lot. So I give him a quarter per task. And so at the end of the week, he has to if he did all the tasks, then he gets, I think it's like a $2 bonus or something like that I created.
Oh, I
So at
love
the end of the
that.
month, he can potentially get like almost $40.
Oh,
But
wow.
he'll get a bonus if I checked off every task, and it's only
Oh,
five of them.
love that. So you have like a kind of like a little calendar for him with those tasks?
I actually have it on my planner. So I just
Oh,
put
love
his name
that.
and I just put like four columns, and
Mhm.
then I just check it off. So and it's things that I started to realize that I started to nag, and I hate to nag.
Mm,
I hate it.
mhm,
I
mhm.
I hate it with a
Yeah,
passion.
yeah.
So, and I'll be transparent. Um, I would be like, because he'll leave his underwear in the bathroom floor in
Mhm,
his bathroom. So like my rule is like nothing on the floor in the bathroom or in your bedroom.
mhm.
um Making sure
Smart.
all the dishes are in the sink, not to wash them, but at least just put them in the sink.
Mhm.
uh be out of the house by 7:48, and then I had to put like the time on the microwave because we can't go off of
Oh,
any other clock. So the
mhm.
time on the microwave, and then I forgot what the other one was, but yeah, it was just four or five things that I put up there, the things
Oh,
that
wow.
like stress me out in the mornings.
Mm. That's smart. So it kind of helps you not have to remind them all the time, and it sets those standards to that
Yeah,
foundation.
and I'm
Because I
not
do think,
complaining in the morning because I just don't
mhm,
check it off,
yeah.
and I just keep it
Mm.
moving. And if he left the underwear there, they will be there when we come back.
Ah, so you don't pick it up.
No,
Yeah. Yeah, that's I've
nope.
we've done, I mean, our son's still small, but we've done it. We're like, okay, you don't pick up because he'll make a mess. And then he says, oh, mommy, daddy, can you help me clean up it so much? I'm like, no, buddy, sorry. You made the mess. You clean it up. If mommy and daddy made the mess, we'll help you or we'll clean up the mess. But do we ask you to clean up our mess? No. Okay, mister. You
Yeah.
got to pick it up. And he's like,
Yeah, I
it's
don't
so
clean up.
hard. I'm like, yeah.
Sometimes, like if they go to their dad's house, of course I don't want to look at the underwear, but I'll take pictures and I'll send it on a group text to him and his brother. Like,
Mm,
this is what I came home to today.
hmm. Smart.
Yeah.
Man. I remember one of the things my mom used to do with my brother is si se le olvidaba bajar el agua, like if you forgot to flush, she would have him sing a song like I have to flush the toilet. I have to flush the toilet for like I don't know, like depending on how frustrated she got because like she kept having to tell him over and over and sometimes it was 2 minutes, sometimes 5, sometimes 10. But that like then we started making a joke out of it. We started making a little tune thing, okay, like, and
Yeah.
it wasn't being taken so serious. And I think that that whole idea of the incentive with money not only teaches them that you have to work hard for money, it just doesn't come. We're
Right.
not privileged, que, you know, we were born with
Yeah.
a, como se dice, silver spoon or lo que sea,
Right.
that they
Hmm.
have to work for it. And it's that, that consistency that and also that peace of mind that you get from not having to like yell and nag over and over for them to do that. So
Hmm.
I love that. I'm going to
Yeah,
find ways to
definitely.
implement something similar like that
Yeah.
with
So don't feel bad that you're paying him 10 cents because my
yeah.
12-year-old is getting 25 cents per task.
Well, it's not every like big task, but I guess I do pay him the most is sometimes 75 cents for helping me vacuum. He doesn't do a good job, but it's just then he gets so excited, but I don't do it all the time. I think that's
Yeah.
where
And it'll be
I
nice,
love
especially
the
because you're a
consistency.
graphics person. Like you could literally put little pictures and the word like on a chart.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. Now I'm excited. And
You
I
can
did
get
buy those
creative.
like stickies where it's kind of like that you can use them for um
Like the
they're like
Velcro.
little velcros, uh-huh. So like rounded velcros. I have a whole pack that I bought for something like that and I haven't used it. So now I know.
Mhm. Yeah. So that would be a great summer project.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
really love that. So those are really kind of great ways to kind of help add, you know, that or diminish that summer slide. But do you have any suggestions for, let's say, you know, we all get overwhelmed, especially if we're working still while they're at home, or kind of trying to manage that. Do you have any suggestions to find ways to balance that, like still do a few things to help them with the summer slide and not overwhelm ourselves, or how to find that
Um,
balance?
yeah, so I would go to a bookstore and I would have them pick a book that they want to pick, their choice.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't have the funds for a book, then go to the library and borrow a book. And then
Mm-hmm.
just like for example, for my sons, I would just ask the librarian like, where are the basketball books, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I would have them pick their own book that they want to read, like, and again, depending on the level, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
if you're like third, fourth grade, like let's push you to do a chapter book, right?
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So that also like Barnes and Noble or your bookstore or Amazon. I would rather go to an actual bookstore like Barnes and Noble so you can actually flip through the book so you can kind of see it. But they have a usually Barnes and Nobles has a section where they have like summer books. They also have like a bridge book. So like let's say your child is going into the fourth grade, you could get like half of the book is third grade and the other half is fourth grade. So you could get a book
Oh.
like that. And I would only get one or two books because some parents go crazy, right? I would just get
Mm.
one or two books or just one book. And if I'm going to work and my kids are left at home or whatever, I would just circle like, hey, I need you to finish 5 pages by the time I get home from work.
Oh, okay.
Do them whenever
Easy
you
task.
want to,
Mhm.
but get it done. And don't forget that the answers are always in the back. So make sure that you rip the answers from the back and take the answers with you to work.
Mm. Oh, yeah, so they don't cheat.
Yeah.
Smart.
And definitely get a book that the answers are in the back because then it makes it easier for you to check it. So like if
Yeah.
so you do want to check it to make sure that they whether it's right or wrong.
Mm.
And you don't always have to make them have corrections of what they got wrong because it could be too petty, and it is summertime and you do want
Mm.
them to have, to kind of like be
Some
relaxed.
fun. Mhm.
um and if you have multiple children, then you can have the older one check the homework of the younger one, or
Oh,
stuff like
smart.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they love to emphasize, "Oh my God, you got this wrong," or
Let them be the ones that say that. Good for
yeah,
you.
yeah. There's also like a lot of online resources. There's a website that I use all the time. It's called IXL.com.
Mm.
And I think the membership, I don't know, might be like $90 for the year,
Oh, that's not
and
bad.
you can like pull up reports. So I have the membership for my students, and they have because they have math, reading, social studies, Spanish. They have different subjects, but I only purchase math and reading. So on there, I could type in like multiplication. They have like different like weekly plans that you can do. So you can assign your child to say, well, you have to do at least 20 minutes of IXL and complete these 5 pages from this book and read one chapter by the time I get
Oh,
home from work
mm,
every day.
that's very smart.
And if
Yeah.
you don't do it, there has to be consequences though.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sticking to those.
And that's sometimes the hard part. But we really, especially for moms, I've noticed we tend to not
Mhm.
follow through. So I would say something like, let's say you're going to do pizza on Friday.
Mhm.
So we would say, okay, because you completed all these tasks, we're going to do pizza of your choice on Friday. But if they
Ah.
complete the task, because let's say you were going to do pizza anyway,
Mm.
whether they were going to do it or not, but you have to be able to follow through to not get the pizza if, or maybe you are going to get pizza, but from the place that I want, not the place you want or your brother wants.
Mm.
And maybe
Got
a
it.
pizza you hate, but guess what? That's what we're eating because you didn't complete your task.
Got it. So there's that added incentive too for them
Yeah, and then
to
you don't
make
want it. You
those.
don't want it to be like a nagging session either,
Mhm.
because you really do want them to like enjoy part of the process. And yes, it's
Mhm.
gonna some of it is gonna hurt. They're not gonna want to do it, but you
Mhm.
should. They should have a say so in it a little
Mm.
bit.
Yeah, and doing
That's
that.
that's just the type of kids that we have today.
Yeah, and I think that that's true. That flexibility. I think also. I've noticed in sometimes I kind of think back of when, mostly was my mom that was helping us do homework and that we didn't want to do it and she would get frustrated. And it's not having those tools, that really help us really excel or do better in how we support our parents. But I think that what I've learned is with that attention span too, that sometimes even ourselves as adults, we need to break down a task in smaller little stints or spurts instead of saying, hey, now you need to read all this or do all this. And so we've been trying to do that with our son when we kind of catch him like not trying, like, oh, this is hard. Like, okay, let's try one more. We'll help you. We'll guide you. Let's try two more. Okay, now when you after do that, let's take a 5-minute break and then we come back. And that seems to kind of help reset them
Mm-hmm.
for, moving forward to do that. But it's
Yeah.
been,
So
yeah.
I just happen to have this on my desk, but it's really cool. Is story cubes. I have
Ooh, what are
no
those?
idea where I got this from, but it's I think 9 cubes, right?
Mhm.
So and these are different little games. Like you can find games on Amazon. Just put educational games or reading
Mhm.
games. So all the cubes have like different images on them, right?
Ooh, uh-huh.
So what you do is you throw the dice,
Mhm.
right? And then let's say you have two players, right? So let's say it's you and I throw the dice, then I pull this one and then there's 8 left. So you're going to take 4 and I'm going to take 4.
Okay.
So we're going to make up a story. So let's say that
Um,
but this is the one that I pulled out, which is a clock.
mhm.
So I would say like once upon a time there was a clock on top of a church. And then it would be your turn to come up with something that goes along with this image.
Oh. So I would say there was like a sad little man in the sad little town.
Right.
And
And
then you
then it
had
would be my turn, and I would, let's say this was mine. And then the little boy found a turtle, and the turtle was hurt, but the little boy was scared. And then it would be your turn with your cube. And then so it creates
oh, that's so neat.
creativity, um, dialogue between family members. It's cool.
Yeah. Oh
And
my
I'm telling
gosh.
you, I have no
Yeah.
idea where I got this from, but we have
That is
Google.
so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just do it, DIY it too.
Yeah,
Print
and
it.
Pinterest and
Mhm. Oh my
apps
gosh.
you can download. I think also too to be able to do like if we're gonna do apps to like do left and right brain activities,
Oh, yeah. That's
some
smart.
critical thinking, some inference. So on that website that I told you about IXL,
Mhm.
inference is really important. And inference is something that they start introducing to them like maybe third grade, and it goes through high school. It goes through even some entry level college exams.
Mhm.
Inference is when you have to like think about context clues, almost like, okay, so because this happened and this happened, so you can come to the conclusion that, right? So like Viviana's not wearing a wedding ring, right? Viviana has this little accent about her, so what can you conclude from there? She has Latin
Oh.
heritage, so that's inference. So you can ask, because a lot of the times we tend to give our children answers, like we
Mhm.
either do it for them or we give them the answers, and I think we need to
Yeah.
push them to do critical thinking, and we don't do that.
Man. Yeah. No, I'm very much guilty of it. Or if I'm kind of in that, he's in the middle of trying to think the critical, and I'm like, come on, let's get to it. Let's get to it. So
Yeah,
it's
you're
like our
not
own
patient.
impatience. No. So that I'm glad you
And
said that
kids
because
and
that
kids
helps.
process different. People process different, and we have to be extra patient. I remember when I was going through my divorce, my separation at first. My ex-husband, he's a math person, right? So he thinks totally different than me. So he would talk, and then sometimes he would stop, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, like
Let's
talk,
keep
whatever,
going. Yeah.
right? Out of frustration.
Mhm.
So during my separation, I did a lot of like therapy and meditation and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
so I bumped into Eckhart Tolle, and he has a book called The Power of Now. And so he has
Mm.
a lot of videos on YouTube, and his voice is so boring.
Yeah.
And sometimes he talks and is really slow, and sometimes he pauses long that you almost
Mhm.
have to check to see if something's wrong with the phone.
Yeah.
Well, one day, but I love his content, right? Like if you guys decide to listen to him, like don't listen to a 20-minute video that he has. Listen to like a 6-minute video because you might get
Okay.
discouraged because
Yeah.
his voice is horrible. But one day I was like, dag, like I don't even know this man that I listen to, and I'm patient with him. Whenever he stops,
Mhm.
I would be patient. And why would I not be patient with the father of my children that I should be able to communicate well with, right? So it kind of it checks you at times because our kids are the same way. Like they individuals, we process things different. And sometimes you have to learn to just because and I guess because I deal with kids all the time, but I'm like, okay, and I don't have a problem standing there for 5 minutes just waiting. I might ask like probing questions to help you process a little bit more.
Oh,
But I'll wait because I want you to speak and just think that there's
say what
there's
you
no
think.
judgment here, and yes, speak your mind.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
have to be
man, I love
patient.
that. Yeah, that's such a great way to. I'm gonna check it out because I don't know if I have the audiobook for that, but the title of the book sounded so familiar. But in how you were saying that we are more patient for other things than our own
Like people
children,
outside
our own
of our home.
family, which makes no sense. I think it's sometimes in especially in our culture that it's like, oh, it's a familia, they have to deal with it, like, and it's not fair, so I think that that's a really great way to shift our perspective and in that, how we communicate and everything. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because I'm guilty of that with especially my oldest son. And I didn't realize it till like maybe 2 years ago, and he's 18. And I said, because he would talk, and there was something he said, and I was like, Troy, like hurry up, like you're so slow, right? But then later on I understood that he just processed different because what I'll before I would throw too many things at him at one time, like what's going on with English, what's going on with math, what's going on with history, like da 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 da, and that's too much for his brain, right?
Mm,
It doesn't mean that he's not smart. It's just that his brain, the inside of his brain is processing. And those people that are like that are really geniuses because those are the people that zone in. And when they zone into something, they do it to perfection, right? So these are
mhm.
your engineers, your architects, because they truly zone in versus people like myself that we appear to be all over the place because we're so like liberal arts.
Yeah.
Um, so I had to learn to embrace that this is just how he processed things, and I because then it would create conflict between him and I.
Mm. Man, that's so, and that's a really great way to, share how we ourselves can start to consider the learning habits of our own children, how they communicate, how they process things. As you were saying that, it also made me realize too that I think that there's those differences of men and women and how we kind of process and navigate things that I don't like to multitask because I feel like I half-ass things when I do that. So I'm really working on being more intentional or seeing a project through and not being a little scattered, like pica aquí, pica allá, do this, do that. And I've learned that my husband's really good at that. He'll start a task, and even if he doesn't like it, he sees it through. So us kind of learning in that balance of, okay, how can we, even like with the tasks we give our children, haz esto, esto, esto. Like, I love how you divide it into like, here are the tasks you need to do for the week. We know what they are, and you're not repeating yourself. So I think these are really great ways for us to think about, especially for the summertime when we think that now we have all this time. What are we going to do? So that, yeah, was really, it actually got me excited of not like, oh no, what I'm gonna do. I'm like, oh, now I know what I can do. So this has been really, really intriguing. Um, is there anything that you suggest too, like as far as doing tasks with them? So let's say they enjoy reading a book or designating a time when it's not going to be overwhelming for you, that you don't continually do that, but kind of become a part of their education journey for the summer slide.
So it depends, right? Because every household is different. You may have a two-home household, two parents. You may have a single
Mhm.
parent. You may have military's wife and spouses, whatever, right? So it just depends. You have to get creative, and but creative, but be intentional, right? To say, you
Mhm.
know what, at least once a week, I have to somehow emotionally connect with my child. So, one of the things that I did at first with my separation, I used a expo marker and I wrote in my son's bathroom, like, have a great day today. And I would write one note to Troy and one note to Joel. Troy would never respond.
Mhm.
Joel would always respond. But that's just
Aw.
the difference in their personalities, right?
Mhm.
So we did that for a while. So we would that was our way to connect. So
Mhm.
you could do stuff like
Aw.
that. Let's say for that single mom that leaves home before they wake up and gets home late or whatever. So you can get creative in that way. You could leave like little love notes, on the kitchen table, not just a list of tasks like do your homework, clean. Also, like write a little love note to your kids sometimes. Um, but again, you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional. Because we do it. It's easier for us to do sometimes at the workplace to give people positive words, to encourage people, but we really have to do it at home. I'm guilty of that as well. Sometimes I forget because I want the house clean and certain things, and I
Mhm.
can handle you different because I see you all the time versus a
Yeah.
client. The treatment is
Mhm.
um, but you can do that. You can make it a family affair to say, hey guys, like this is the one day that I'm going to get home early. Hey Troy, find a recipe online and I'll buy the stuff and I'll bring the stuff home on Wednesday night and we'll cook together. Or that's the day that
Oh.
you cook and I'll clean.
Mhm.
Something like that.
Oh, I love that.
You could do that. You can say, hey, at the end of the night for like 10 minutes, you could even set a timer on the phone. We're going to read for 10 minutes.
Mm.
Even if it's an audiobook, you could find an audiobook, listen for 10 minutes as a family. You could take, I
Mhm.
did that one time. We didn't finish the book, but I did try it. Uh, but the three of us listened to it, and then I had them write one sentence about what we heard.
Oh, that's smart. So it forces them to not just tune it out, but like really be present.
And they can pick the book as well.
Yeah, these are, and it's all about kind of finding what works for you and your family too, trying
Yeah,
all of
because it's
these
not a
out.
cookie cutter. Everybody's
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
You may have some family that don't have internet access.
Hmm.
Go to the
Yeah.
library. Some people may take public transportation, so they may not have a vehicle. Um, the climate is different. Some kids, there's five, six kids in the house. Sometimes you have a kid and the mom is a doctor and she's never home,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. All
right?
these things that.
You can have the kids Google maybe activities to do on the weekend, or find like museums or activities,
Mhm.
or there's also websites where you can um, register as a volunteer. So
Mhm.
whenever there's volunteer opportunities, you'll get like emails that you can volunteer here.
Oh. Well, that's really good. So they can go into some sort of program too, where
Yeah.
they
I
can.
mean, we have so much access. I think we just don't use the resources because you could easily go on YouTube or Instagram. I'm sorry, Facebook, Instagram, and just say, "Hey, I'm looking for like," because we do it already. I'm looking for a
Mhm.
handyman, and then all of a sudden you get like 20 responses.
Mhm. Yeah. But you know what? Here's the irony. I think that in you saying that I am sometimes guilty of is that we would rather search for things that are for our own business or liking than doing that for helping our children, because sometimes we let that overwhelm be our excuse instead of saying, well, I just spent 20 minutes searching a top on Amazon, and why didn't I not do that to find things like summer activities for my son, night to do, or like all those things. So it's a, as you said, that it's a great opportunity to kind of reflect on things that help us be more present. And I think that that also helps with that guilt that some of us feel, and feeling like, oh, I'm so busy, I haven't been able to dedicate XYZ time, or I didn't do what I promised. So yeah, this
Yeah,
ended up
and I
being
think
even more therapeutic.
if we don't do anything, like let's at least create more dialogue with our kids.
Yeah.
While we're in the car, let's talk about something while we're in the car instead of being on the phone. Even if
Mm.
we're listening to a song that my son likes, well, we'll listen to your song and then we'll listen to one of my songs.
Oh, I
But
love
let's
that.
create some type of dialogue.
Mhm.
Last night I saw a movie, I think called The Sun in Netflix.
Mhm.
Um, and for some reason, this is the second movie that I kind of watched that has to do with suicide. So this
Mm.
kid is, I don't know, maybe like in 10th grade or something like that. His parents are divorced. The dad is remarried, has a baby. The kid starts to se corta con un cuchillo his wrist,
Oh,
but not
that's so
penetrating,
sweet.
just kind of like, I forgot what it's called. There's actually a word for it because I had a
Mhm.
therapist tell me the word recently. But they
Mm.
kind of like cut themselves a little bit and it doesn't
Mhm.
hurt, but it's because it takes, when they do that, it takes away the pain, whatever their other pains are. It takes away
Mm.
those pains so they can kind of concentrate on the arm situation.
Mm. Wow.
Um, so the kid did that, and I'm gonna tell you guys the movie because it was a good movie. But just to kind of like be cautious because our kids spend a lot of time in their bedrooms and we don't
Mm.
really know what they're doing, who they're talking to, what they're being exposed to. And this is all ages. And so the
Mhm.
kid, so one time he ends up living with the dad because he's like upset about the divorce and all that stuff. So he stays with dad. The stepmom finds him like he really cut himself, so they had to take him to the hospital. He was
God.
institutionalized for a little bit. So then the doctors kept them away from the parents for like a week or so.
Mm.
Finally the parents were able to see the kid, and the kid said like devastated. Like I felt myself like when your child is like reaching for you, like mom, dad, like
Mm.
take me from here, like this is horrible, I promise I won't do it again, like this is
Mm.
begging, pleading not to
Oh
leave
my
me in that place.
God.
It's like I really felt empathy when I was watching the movie. And the parents have to make the decision, and the doctors are telling him like he needs to be monitored 24/7 because he could do it again. Like people that commit
Mm.
suicide, they will do it a second time, they'll try a second time. So it looks like they're going to leave him there, but in actuality they actually don't let him stay there. They actually take him home. They
Oh
take him
wow.
home. They're happy. The kid apologizes to them. He's like, I love you guys. He makes tea for them. They're about to go to the movie theater. So he's like, I'm going to go take a shower because I haven't taken a shower in a couple of days. So everything is cool. And all of a sudden, you hear a gunshot and the
Oh
kid
my
kills himself.
God.
And I think it's based on a true story, the movie.
Mm.
But like, I woke up this morning thinking about it, and it just makes me think of
Mm.
how disconnected we are from our kids at times because they spend, I'm telling you, if we ask ourselves as parents, do we have dinner with our kids or are they having dinner in their bedroom by themselves?
Mm. Yeah.
Especially because a lot of us have bigger homes and everybody goes into their own space.
Mhm.
Um, so we just really have to be so intentional because these kids are going through a lot of emotional things that they're not expressing to us, and we're not aware.
Yeah. My gosh. Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah,
And we think that they're okay, or we are in our own little world of trying to survive or whatnot, and
yeah.
we think that they are okay, but when they're not, and gosh,
Mhm.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
harsh
I mean, I see
reality.
it with my own kids, my oldest son being an introvert. So sometimes he's super quiet. So I have to like kind of like really watch him. And then my youngest son, he's so tough. He's like, I don't cry in front of people. So you don't want that either. You just
Yeah.
have to like, our objective is to like really, have them be well-rounded individuals. So
Mhm.
I can't handle my kids the same way. Like I have to handle
Yeah.
them in different ways. So I've had to have conversations with my youngest son and tell him like it's okay for you to like express yourself, like use your words to express whatever it is you're thinking. So remember, I
Mhm.
think I told you guys about the like the emotional wheel.
Yes.
So like
Yes.
I'll pull that out in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I think that's something that we should all have just access to, like you pulled out. because it really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, giving them tools to express themselves. That is so true. That it's man, this has been such a great topic,
Yeah.
and
Our time is up.
I know we
Our
could
time
keep
is
talking
up.
about this, but this has been so enlightening. Thank you so much, Viviana, for sharing that with us
Yeah,
and giving us some
definitely.
really great tools and resources for us
Mm.
to
And I
avoid that.
and I wonder if there's other type of like summer slides, like in other outside of the academic world. We'll have to research that a little bit. But yeah, there's a lot of things to do, a lot of things that we need to do as parents, as adults, even if we don't have children, but nephews, nieces,
Yeah,
neighbors, kids.
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, this has been fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. So again, we're here every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But before we go, we have to listen to Maddie's poem.
Yay!
So we're
Poem
ready.
time!
We're ready for that, Mark. Thank you. And we'll see you next Sunday at 4 o'clock.
See you next Sunday.